All the heavy lifting. We're lifting through science and the natural world queries. We do need your input. 0500 909 693. Let's go straight to Bristol and Mary.
Hello.
We were talking about tinnitus earlier, and this caused you to come up with a question.
Yes, it did. For Dr. Chris. My son had an accident when he was 15. He got knocked off his bike doing his paper round, and the nerve was severed in his right ear. So he's been completely deaf since then. But 3 years ago, he said that he could hear a voice in that ear, coming from that ear. Is it possible that something has happened in his brain since then, seeing as you were saying that experiments with the mice, it was like a severed limb, or they could still feel something there? Is that possible?
Good morning. Sorry to hear about your son.
Mm-hmm.
When he said he could hear a voice, was this a voice that was really there, or was this a voice that was not heard in the other ear and didn't exist? It was only audible in his mind's eye, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what's going on, in the same way that if you close your eyes, you don't see nothing. You often see little sparkles of black, little sparkles like stars in a night sky. Mm-hmm. And this is your brain's own intrinsic noise and nerve activity. Because of the severing of the nerve, the inputs from that ear are silent to the brain, and the brain listens a bit harder to see if it can really, just by listening a bit harder, find those missing signals. And in the process of doing that, in the same way that when you close your eyes and your brain doesn't see anything, so it turns up the "I'll look a bit harder" system, your ear's doing the same thing. And it's probably that the centres, which are part of your system that decodes sounds, those are called auditory association areas, they become a bit active, and sometimes you can stimulate areas that actually decode quite complicated messages. And I suspect that this is it's a bit like a hallucination, that you trigger off activity in these nerve pathways, which then you think you're hearing something that makes sense to you, and it's not really there, but something has activated these otherwise underemployed brain areas, and it triggers the sensation.
And what could have caused that after all this time? Because he was 15 when he had his accident. He's 40 now, so it's only been in the last 3 years.
Well, the amazing thing about the brain is that the brain that you wake up with in the morning is a different brain than the one you went to bed with, and it's a different brain than the one you will go to bed with that day, because your brain is a very plastic organ. It's continuously changing, and it has the great ability to rewire itself and change the connection strength between one part of the brain and another. And so it's not completely unlikely and unsurprising that over the period of time that's elapsed, some rewiring is going on, and that by chance there might be some of these abnormal signals firing off, making these hallucinations or these auditory effects that I presume they're not happening very often. And he knows that they're not real. I presume he tells you that these aren't voices that are real. These are voices which I know they're not really there, but it sounds like some sound is coming in through my ear. So it's probably that these areas are just rewiring themselves, and this is a reflection on the fact that your brain's a very plastic organ. It changes all the time.
So could they change again, Dr. Chris? Could Mary's son start to hear different things?
Well, normally your brain keeps itself in check, and there'll be a sort of check system which says, no, I'm registering sounds here, and those sounds don't really exist, so I'm not going to tune into them. So they should sort of get suppressed or cancelled out. But sometimes when you get very tired, sometimes when you have another disease or an illness going on, these can be thwarted a little bit, and you begin to experience things that are a bit strange, and then they reset themselves or go away. Your brain's very good at registering when something should or shouldn't be there and taking appropriate action. And it's the same reason why you can't tickle yourself, because your brain anticipates a signal coming in from where you're about to tickle yourself. It cancels out the tickle sensation, so you can't tickle yourself, convincingly anyway. Whereas because your brain doesn't know when someone else is going to tickle you, it can't generate the right sort of cancelling signal, so you feel you've been tickled.
Thank you very much for that call, Mary in Bristol.